introduction of Shadow the Hedgehog's character in Sonic Adventure 2, while not without controversy and backlash I will not get into here, holds many implications of turning points in the series' lore. He was immediately granted a thought-provoking origin story, even giving the primary villain, Dr. Ivo Robotnik, aka Eggman, a deeper familial history to boot. And as a warning, pretty much everything past this sentence is spoiler country. Meet Gerald and Maria Robotnik. Gerald was a brilliant scientist who worked in space trying to create an immortal being, his main drive being to cure his granddaughter Maria of her unspecified illness. Let's call it tragic backstory disease. The most common victims are anime moms. After creating a big-ass lizard monster and deciding it was a failure for some reason, Gerald created the infamous black hedgehog Shadow. Suddenly, the government decides that's no good and shuts down the professor's work by force. Probably because he was working with aliens that looked like they were birthed by H.R. Geiger and H.P. Lovecraft and messing with this mid-name barrel quartz thing that happened to carry enough energy to make his zero-point modules in Stargate look like watch batteries. Anyway, the government shows up and Maria comes to the conclusion that she needs to get Shadow, who apparently became her best friend, to Earth, and Maria and Robotnik are left to the mercy of a frenzied military force. So, of course, Gerald seeks revenge against the entire human race and tries to Majora's Mask the whole space station in Earth. But not yet. Shadow is sealed until just under 50 years later when Eggman wakes him up. Then the quest for the 7 Chaos Emeralds begins. Again. Only this time they're using the space station as a Death Star with their power, and thus Shadow is setting Gerald's plan in place until he remembers something he promised Maria, to protect all life on Earth. Yes, the granddaughter Gerald is trying to take revenge on for the human race, as the tool of said revenge to protect the human race. Anyway, the subject of today's theory is what Maria said during this instruction, or rather, how she said it. Yes, I'm sorry for so much introduction to a brief detail in the series would argue needs no introduction, or at the very least not the amount I've unloaded on you. Maria's parting sentiment is Sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Those of you familiar with the Japanese language may notice that in spite of Sonic Adventure 2's lackluster sound mixing is pronunciation. The second syllable yo is pronounced like orange, which is a farewell in Japanese, though that pronunciation is not a permanent farewell. You might use it when saying goodbye to someone you'll see tomorrow or next week or whatever. The more permanent farewell, sayonara, pronounced with a U, is not something Maria would have forgone if she believed she was about to die. It's kind of a big deal. And keep in mind that Sega and Sonic Team are Japanese companies. And I don't see a so-called mistake like that slipping by Mr. Yuji Naka. Now, maybe you could call this a localization or even translation issue, but I'm not 100% convinced of that. In fact, Sonic even echoes what Maria said after he and Shadow defeat the Ultimate Lifeform prototype, and says the more permanent sayonara. Now, what could this mean? I'm believing it was a nod to the fact that Shadow made his return to the series in Sonic Heroes, but Maria's input led me to believe that it's not the last we'll see of her either. So, if she is alive, where is she now? There is some fan art of Maria drawn as a hedgehog, but yeah, that's exactly what it is, fan art. Perhaps we'll see her in later installments. Until then, I am theoretically yours, but when that rolls around, you can say that you heard it here first.